meantime, please click a like for us when you have joined. So I know who's watching, pop an emoji of your choice in the comment box and where you are based. Knowing where you are based is useful for our company to see what area is engaging with us the most. If you're in Somerset, then just pop Somerset. Now, there's a slight time delay, but bear with me to reply to your comments. Also, I will leave the live feed running at the end just to give people a chance to not be cut off. So today we are going to be looking at self-worth. This will be a great chance for you viewers to explore and be aware of where you currently are with your self-worth. I'll be checking my messages as we go along, so if you have any questions at any time, then please comment. This will obviously depend on your interaction that you are comfortable with, but the more comments and questions, the better for everyone all round. So if this is the first time that you have joined our live video, please look through our Facebook page or visit our webpage at www.resilienceboys.co.uk. There you can check out all of our other videos over the past few weeks and our introduction video that was on the 13th of April. There you'll be able to catch up with our plans and understand our purpose behind our digital approach. Now, our company has a date for our free workshop that is online that will be in Zoom called The Journey of Resilience. It's an in-depth look at how the brain works so we can understand our emotional responses, take a look at boundaries, the inner and outer critic, and the big one, validation. This will be on the 13th of May. It will be in the evening, time still to come. Grab a slot, guys. There are only 10 slots available now. You'll also be able to meet Kerry, the other director, who will be leading this fantastic workshop. This will be a more in-depth and will give you an opportunity to interact with us and try out some of our online interaction too. There is no time like the present to learn more about yourself, for yourself of course, but also to promote self-awareness to your family and your friends. However, this free online workshop is funded by SSNL, so you will need to be 19 plus and live in Somerset to be able to apply, but it will be worth your time. So we would also like to highlight that we have just opened up a new Facebook group. It's all about resilience, supporting each other, sharing tips, quotes, theories, methods, music, coping strategies, and much, much more. So come and join us. Just tap Resilience Voyage into the search bar. Hi, Kerry. Kerry is online. She is the other director of Resilience Voyage. She comes on because it's a great way for her to be part of these live feeds where she can answer questions, ones that I might miss or not get around to, and also highlight anything that she feels is important to be noted. All right, just so everybody knows, that is Kerry. So today this video is tagged as a trigger warning. The topic itself can be very sensitive. Any viewers who may be currently struggling emotionally or have a mental health condition, then we would like to ask that you consider how you are feeling today and put a coping strategy in place for yourself to refocus your mind and to ground yourself. So as a company, we don't shy away from difficult subjects, but we certainly don't want to add to any problems either. So if at any point you do struggle in any way after watching one of our videos, then please reach out and get in touch. We are happy to support you and show you the right way to go with other organisations. Okay, so let's begin. Hi, Colin. Colin is online. Nice to see you. So self-worth can be easily confused with self-esteem. So first of all, I'd just like to straighten that one out. So what is the difference between self-esteem and self-worth? So self-worth is about who you are, not about what you do. The major difference is self-esteem is geared towards doing, and self-worth is more about being. So both having a tremendous amount of value and serve very different purposes in your life. Now, there's a lady called Dr. Christina Hibbert. She has a theory about self-esteem that it's a myth, and I do like the way that she does word this though. So I wanted to share it before we moved on. She believes that self-esteem is what we think and feel and believe about ourselves, and self-worth is recognizing I am greater than all of those things. It is a deep knowing that I am lovable, necessary to this life, and of complete worth. It is possible to feel high self-esteem, or in other words, to think I am good at something, yet still not feel convinced that I am lovable and worthy. So self-esteem doesn't last or work without self-worth. That's why she believes in the pursuit of self-esteem as a myth. When I read her article, it made sense to realize how important self-worth is. It's definitely a good thing to feel good about yourself, but what happens when you don't? She also states that buying into the lie that myself is based on those good thoughts and feelings could be a problem. Rather than trying so hard to just feel good about ourselves, Isn't it better to actually know ourselves is good? That's what self-worth is. It's a deep knowing. It's an interesting thought. So let's start with finding out what you viewers think of your self-worth by rating it on a scale of 1 to 10. So pop your score in the comment box for me if you feel like sharing. So score low if you feel your self-worth is poor and non-existent and needs working on. Score in the middle if you feel your self-worth is there but still needs working on. And score high if you feel your self-worth is healthy or progressing steadily. When thinking about scoring your self-worth, remember it's what you feel about yourself deep down. Are you worthy? Are you lovable? And what do you truly believe about yourself? Uh, so, what do you believe about your self-worth? I'm just going to go over those questions just one more time to rate yourself. Okay, so score low if you feel that your self-worth is poor or non-existent and needs a lot of work. Score in the middle if you feel your self-worth is there but still needs working on, or score high if you feel your self-worth is healthy or progressing steadily. Let me know if you feel like sharing, guys. So, Colin, thank you for sharing. You've put a 3. So we've got some more to work on. So follow this through, and there'll be some handy guidelines for you to think about and consider and to move forward with. All right. So I wanted to touch on long-term impact of neglectful parents and how it affects self-worth. I want to do that because I feel that it's important to highlight why others may feel that this is unattainable, or they feel that they're unworthy of loving themselves. Now, it's very close to my heart. As growing up being neglected myself by my mother certainly makes sense to why I had no self-worth. Now, I can link my self-worth and why it was non-existent. And it doesn't always take neglect or trauma for that to happen. It can happen for many other reasons. So if at any point you would like to make a comment or ask a question while I'm working my way through this topic, then please do. I will keep a lookout, and so will Kerry as well. Okay, so just wanted to have a little looky on there. Kerry, thank you for sharing that. You've popped a 5 in there as well. So, and I rate myself in the middle somewhere too as well. I would say probably around a 5 or 6. It's something that I am working on massively, but also can appreciate how much patience it takes and how much time it takes. So this is a sensitive topic, so I appreciate this could be difficult to listen to for some. But remember, if the topic does become too overwhelming, then please take yourself away and apply a healthy coping strategy. Okay, so for the long-term impact of neglectful parents and how it affects self-worth. If you were emotionally or physically neglected as a child, it can be a difficult journey to healing. Neglect can be a hard thing to put your finger on, especially emotional neglect. Neglected children often don't realize they are being neglected at the time and can internalize the pain and loneliness and think it's their fault. They are often told they are too sensitive or selfish if they try to get their needs met. Parents with little empathy often neglect their children and don't even realize it. So while they're also the parents who don't care. Either way, the child grows up wondering about their own self-worth and value. Many times parents who are neglectful also use shame and humiliation when the child attempts to get their love and approval. The child may eventually stop trying, and the loneliness that follows may actually be easier to deal with than shame, humiliation, or neglect. So if you are an adult who was neglected, please know that you can find true sense of self and worthiness. This starts with working on your personal trauma and getting it processed. So don't go it alone. Get help when needed and don't minimize the pain. We are happy to point you in the right direction if needed. Just get in touch with us. So you may think it is too selfish or self-absorbed to discuss your feelings. I know I certainly felt that way when I started out, but they will catch up on you in the long run. Mine did, and the best thing I ever did was to find somebody to talk things through with. Now, as an Alice Miller said, I have never known a patient to portray his parents more negatively than he actually experienced them in childhood, but always more positively, because idolization of his parents was essential for his survival. She also added, wherever I look, I see signs of the commandment to honor one's parents, and nowhere of a commandment that calls for the respect of children. I actually thought they were really powerful points to point out. As a child, you do look at your parents for survival. Now, if you're going to see your parents as something bad, how are you going to survive that situation? It's really clever. It's worth looking into if you want to know more about that, the idolization of parents, because it's a real eye opener to how we view our parents so we can survive, even if they're putting us through neglect and trauma. So take a moment to think about how it feels when someone truly believes in you and validates your needs and feelings, because empathy is the greatest gift to give and receive. So, with this in mind, what is self worth? As I talk through this, see if you can recognize any of this in yourself and see if it matches up with where you rated your self worth. So, self worth is an internal state of being that comes from self understanding, self love, and self acceptance. It's a state that is somewhat timeless and unchanging because it's a direct measure of how you value and regard yourself in spite of what others may say or do. So it's therefore something that doesn't quickly or easily change when external factors or circumstances change. So self worth is steady and determined, and therefore holds power to radically transform your life for the better. This is, of course, all well and good, but what does it actually mean to have a high level of self worth? To have a high level of self worth means having a favorable opinion or estimate of yourself. It means having unshakable faith in yourself and in your ability to follow through and get things done. Having a high degree of self worth means feeling worthy of good things. It means feeling deserving of happiness, health, wealth, success, and love, irrespective of the difficulties you face, the disappointments you experience, or of other people's opinions. In a word, it's determined. To have a high level of self worth means accepting yourself wholeheartedly at all times, despite your flaws, weaknesses, and limitations. It's about recognizing the real value of who you are right here, right now, at this present moment. To have a high level of self worth means never allowing yourself to be defined by the outside forces, including people's opinions. It means never allowing outcomes to shake your confidence, faith, or resolve. Well, this essentially means that no matter what happens, you are committed. Nothing outside of your being influences how you feel about yourself. Your influence alone is the only thing that matters. You alone are the most significant factor in how you feel about yourself, about your life, and about your circumstances. And that is essentially where your personal power comes from. It certainly sounds like a power to me, to search for that ultimate belief in yourself. So how to build self-worth? So all this sounds wonderful, right? Having a high level of self-worth is no doubt a tremendous value. But the question still remains, how do we go about building our self-worth? How do we create enough self-worth to empower our daily decisions and actions in a way that will help us achieve our desired outcomes? What I'd like to share with you is a 5-step process for doing exactly that, for building your self-worth step by step. This, of course, isn't something that you can just do once and forget about. It's rather something that you must consistently work on. That's the only way you will build anything of real value. So let's look at it in this way. Placing one single stone down on the ground doesn't build a fortress. However, over time, as you lay down more stones, a fortress begins to take shape. But this takes time, and building a high level of self-worth will also take time. So you must therefore see this as a long-term process that you need to work on consistently. Lay down a new stone each day. Eventually, the fortress will grow, more prominent and more substantial until it becomes almost unbreakable. A strong wind might blow, hail and rain might buck it down, and thunder might shake the ground. And yet, despite all this, your fortress will remain intact. So it stands its ground because you put in place a solid foundation that you consistently built over time. And it's there where the strength of the fortress comes from. And that's precisely where the power of your self-worth comes from as well. With that in mind, let's now jump into the 5-step process to help you build your self-worth. So step 1, the self-understanding stage. Your first step involves getting to know yourself at a deeper and more profound level. Imagine for a moment that everything you had was suddenly taken away. I mean, literally everything, including your possessions, career, money, relationships, friendships, accomplishments, and anything else that is physically or tangible. And ask yourself, viewers, if you want to share your answers, then please pop them in the comment box alongside with the question that you have answered. Okay, so imagine this for a moment. What if everything you have was suddenly taken away? What if what you had left was just yourself and nothing else? How would it make you feel? And what would you actually have that would be of value? This is an interesting scenario, and it's a scenario that many probably would have never thought about to imagine. And it's interesting because how you feel about yourself after everything has been taken away is essentially the measure of your self-worth. So the questions again, which I wanted you guys to think about, and answer if you want to, but you don't have to because it is quite a sensitive subject. But what if everything you have was suddenly taken away? What if all you had left was just yourself? How would that make you feel? What would you actually have that would be of value? Okay, so just think of those. And if you feel comfortable enough to answer, then great. If not, just think over those in your mind. So it's interesting because how you feel about yourself after everything has been taken away is essentially the measure of your self-worth. Now, if you have a high level of self-worth, then having everything taken away from you won't change who you are as a person. Furthermore, it won't shake your self-confidence because you just don't measure your value upon external circumstances. Instead, your value comes from within. This is why it's absolutely critical to actually take the time to think long and hard about the last question and answer it with genuine honesty. What would you actually have left that would be of value? Now, I've even struggled to answer that myself personally. When I've thought about losing absolutely everything and being left with myself, probably explains why I said I'm about a number 5 or 6. Because for me, without not so much the material things, but without relationships and friendships, family, they really are such a big part of who I am. And it just shows me how much more I've got to think about my worth as an individual, stripped from absolutely everything else. But it's a really hard question, and not one that I'm still comfortable with answering. So that's why I said it's really important to take your time with that. And it lets you know really kind of roughly where you are at with your self-worth. Um, Colin, you've answered over here. My experience. My experience. I'm not too sure in what relation that part is. But let me know, Colin, if you've got any more to add to that, you've got time to pop it in because I will reflect back over. So I'm not too sure at what point your answer is about. So if you can, pop a little bit more info in there for me, give me a little bit more. If it's at a question, then pop the question in there so I know which one it's in relation to. All right, so if we dig a little deeper, let me just pop back on here. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into the question. The more you unearth within yourself that you actually do value. So you must, however, seriously take the time though to ponder over the question. Okay. The more you ponder, the more you will find, and that's essentially where real self-worth is derived from. It comes from understanding that no matter what happens externally and no matter what's taken away from me, I'm not affected internally. It's a tough one. And that's essentially what matters most when it comes to building your self-worth. And it can also show how hard it is to have a substantial amount of self-worth. Hi Pete, got Pete online. I would feel very empty if I lost everything, but I'm strong and life does go on. Yeah, and that makes you think about the ultimate need to survive, really, doesn't it? We would find a way to go on. A lot of people would find a way to go on. When you think about it and your emotions get involved, it's actually really hard to think about being stripped from absolutely everything you have and how that represents you and how you feel about yourself. But the ultimate need to survive, we would find a way through it. But I think that also comes down to your self-worth and really having a good look at that. So let's now dig even deeper into the true value. by posing another set of questions that will help unlock how you see yourself with no masks or inhibitions. So ask yourself again, guys, who am I? Am I or I am not? How am I? And how am I in the world? And how do others see me? How do others speak about me? And what key life moments define who I am today? What brings me the most passion, fulfillment, and joy? So if any viewers feel brave enough to answer now, then please pop your answers in the comment box along with the question you have answered, just so I can keep track of which you're answering to. So I'm just going to go over those questions again. All right, so ask yourself, who am I? Am I or am I not? How am I? How am I in the world? How do others see me? How do others speak about me? And what key life moments define who I am today? And what brings me the most passion, fulfillment, and joy? So, who you are and how you see yourself are keys to understanding your true value. And how others see you and how they speak about you is also, of course, important. But this isn't so much about them, but rather about how you feel about yourself, and as a result of how others see or speak about you. This is, of course, another measure of your self-worth. Then there are those key life moments that bring you the most joy, passion, and fulfillment. And these are the things that help you unlock the value you bring to the world. However, this isn't about the pretty little rose petals or rainbows. This process involves being genuinely real with yourself. Comfortable a minute on my chair. Given this, let's be real for a moment and take a look at your weaknesses and struggles and ask yourself, where do I struggle the most? Where do I need to improve? What fears often hold me back? And what persistent emotions hurt me? And what mistakes do I tend to make? And where do I tend to consistently let myself down? Now, there's some tough questions, but all worth having a look at. Again, guys, if you would like to share, that would be great. Please pop it in the comment box. And again, let me know what question it is relevant to. So where do I struggle the most? Where do I need to improve? What fears often hold me back? What persistent emotions hurt me? And what mistakes do I tend to make? And where do I tend to consistently let myself down? So have a little think about those, and if you feel like sharing, pop them on in the comment box. So let's get real and accept the fact that we're only human. And as human beings, we all have our weaknesses and face our own personal struggles. As such, we must be real and honest with our assessment of ourselves. Only in this way will you be able to build a high degree of self-worth over time. And only in this way will you get the depth of understanding you need about yourself to move forward through this process. And since we're being honest, let's take a look at your strengths. Ask yourself, what abilities do I have? And what am I really good at? So let me know in the comment box, guys. I'm going to read those questions again. What abilities do you have? So I'm just going to pop over to the comment box because I see that Colin has given me a little bit more information, which is fab. So I'm just going to have a look. Also, just a teeny weeny technical area of where my page has decided to completely jump. So just give me a second. Gotta love technology. Nearly there. This gives you guys time actually to answer a lot of those questions that I've put in place, doesn't it? And then I can catch up. So feel free to take in mind those questions that I've asked. Give yourself time to pop it in the comment box because I'm just trying to find where I was. For some reason, my computer wanted to completely jump. Right, there we are. I'm back. I am back. Right, I did want to pop over and see what Colin popped in. So all the physical things and even relationships, if they go, it would be like you have landed on a desert island. That is a way of describing it. However, you would still have what you had experienced in life so far. I see your point now. Yeah. Hopefully, some of that knowledge could be used if you lost experience as well. You kind of start from scratch. Yeah, not so much losing the experience, but just being stripped down basically just to yourself alone, your self-worth. Do you value that? And do you value that enough? It's kind of looking at how you feel about yourself, to be able to be stripped of everything else, to be able to keep moving forward. You'd still have your experiences from all of those relationships, but they would physically be gone. It would just be left with you. um, but I like your description of being left on a desert, how that would feel. Yeah. Kerry's added as well, so I was going to read that out too. I am kind, caring, funny. I am a good person. I have strength and I am a survivor and I keep going. I do believe this, but doubt can slip in when emotions get involved, and I can then feel like I am useless, worthless, pathetic, and not good enough. This is something I have worked on and will continue to do so. Thank you, Kerry. That's a really good point, because at the time with our emotions, we can recognize a lot of good things about us if we're in a really good place. And then if something tips and goes the other way, then it's completely the opposite to how we felt. But I think that's the whole power behind self-worth, that actually when we're looking at all of those other things that Kerry's just mentioned in the comment box, that's probably to do with self-esteem. I can see the difference between those. Um, and even though it's great to boost your self-esteem and have all those things, but if you don't deal with anything that is internal, like your self-worth, then self-esteem, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, with the lady who calls it a bit of a myth, I could see where she was coming from, because self-esteem can be knocked. It can be knocked easily, but if our self-worth was there, strong and powerful, then would our self-esteem be knocked so easily? So it's question, it's to think about, it's theories. That's why we share them, and we share what other people think, because they're all worth questioning. It's finding what works for you, really. So thank you for sharing, Colin and Kerry. Really appreciate that. So where I was at before my computer decided to be a pain, I asked where you struggled the most. No, I had moved on from that, hadn't I? I will find myself. So let's get real. It's the fact that we are only human. That's right. I was talking about how we are only human. And how honest that we have to be with ourselves while assessing ourselves. It's really important, because if we're not honest, then we're not really getting down really to the nitty gritty, and we're not being genuine. Therefore, we're not really going to make any positive, healthy changes. So it's only in this way that you'll be able to build high degree of self-worth over time. So in only this way will you get a depth understanding that you need about yourself to move forward through this process. And since we're being honest, let's take a look at our strengths. So I asked you guys these strengths. What abilities do you have? And what are you really good at? So if you want to pop any of those down, Kerry did mention a couple of her own, which was fantastic, but then also talked about how that could be shaken as well. Your strengths are the things that help you build your self-confidence, though, and they are the things that allow you to move forward with greater self-assurance. However, true strengths are only strengths by your own measure. If you're relying on other people to tell you whether or not that you're good at something, then that's not a true strength. That comes from a sense of personal power. In the future, these people could very well change their minds, and then abruptly your strength turns into an afterthought. However, this doesn't need to be the case if you truly believe in your personal value. So that's what counts. And that's essentially what truly matters when it comes to building your self-worth. So step 2, the self-acceptance stage. By now, you probably have a pretty clear picture of your current level of self-worth. You most likely also understand how you see yourself within the world around you. There will, of course, be good things, neutral things, and things that you might not be too proud to admit, and we all have those. However, to build genuine self-worth, we must be real and authentic with ourselves at all times. This requires wholeheartedly acknowledging your true nature, including the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yes, you are not perfect. Yes, You may have flaws, you may have made mistakes and failed miserably time and time again. Haven't we all? However, this is you, this is the true you, and it's who you are. So forgive yourself for everything that you've done in the past and accept yourself unconditionally without judgment or excuses. This is you, this is who you are, and accept that by acknowledging that. I accept the good and the bad and the ugly. I fully accept every part of myself, including my flaws, fears, behaviors, and qualities I might not be too proud of. Now, this is who I am, and I am at peace with that. And there are some things that I'm still getting to peace with, but it is a process, and it's one that's important to go through. So, fully accepting yourself in spite of all your flaws and weaknesses and limitations is absolutely critical for developing a high level of self worth. Now, this is you. You are being vulnerable, authentic, and real. So embrace who you are fully and wholeheartedly. Embrace the fact that you will no longer allow outside forces to define you. Only in this way you will finally let go of everything that's been holding you back all of the years. So, step three, the self love stage. Having fully accepted yourself, it's now time to acknowledge your true value. To do this, it's important to begin practicing a little self love, which basically means treating yourself with kindness, tolerance, generosity, and compassion. Yes, you have flaws, and yes, you have so many limitations and weaknesses, but we all do. That's part of being human. So it's time to let go of all of that and instead practice being compassionate with yourself. Compassion, of course, comes through self love, which comes from self acceptance, which stems from self understanding. Ironically, these are all the steps that we went through as we move through this process so far. So, one simple method to begin practicing self love is to get into the habit of speaking to yourself in a positive and supportive way. We have touched on this through self talk in our previous videos. So, if you want to have a little look at that, then pop back and have a little look at the inner and outer critic. Okay. So, I feel valued and special. I love myself wholeheartedly. I am worthy and a capable person. So, talking to yourself in this way brings your focus and attention to the beauty hidden within you. It might feel cheesy at first, it might not feel genuine at first, but you need to practice it because it's actually really important. And what you'll also notice is probably how little you say good things to yourself or give yourself praise. Why not? We do it to others, we deserve it too. So, you're no longer looking outside circumstances or people for approval or acknowledgement. You're instead searching for the approval within yourself. And that's one of the biggest steps that you can take toward building your self worth. Now, number four, the recognition stage. When you have self understanding, when you have fully accepted yourself, and when you reach a stage where you practice self love and self compassion, that's when people, events, and circumstances no longer define you. You instead begin to define yourself. Given this, it's helpful to openly acknowledge and recognize that you no longer need to please other people. Other people have their own opinions and they have their own life. You also have your own life and you have your own opinions too. And no matter what people do or say, and irrespective of what people on the outside think of you, you are alone control your own perspective and attitude. You therefore hold the power to respond to events and circumstances of your life based on your eternal sources and resources and your own resourcefulness, which are all a reflection of your true value. It's therefore important to recognize your true value regardless of your earnings, power, possessions, social rank, relationship status, etc. Your true value is no longer measured by these things. It rather comes from an internal measure that you've set for yourself. And that's where true personal power comes from. So, step five, the responsibility stage. The final step in this process involves taking full responsibility for your life and for your circumstances and for your problems. Now, of course, it's worth mentioning that I'm not saying that you should be a martyr. What I'm saying is to take full responsibility for everything that happens to you without giving away your personal power. To take responsibility means to acknowledge that you have the personal power to change and influence the events and circumstances of your life. So, to wrap everything up, when you have a high level of self worth, you're no longer relying on other people to make decisions for you. You alone hold yourself accountable, and you alone hold the power to make positive changes in your life. There is no more complaining, blaming, judgment, or excuses. You now hold the power. You hold this power because you fully trust yourself and trust your ability to make decisions that put you in the driver's seat of your life. You're already rather steady and self assured, and you understand who you are. You accept yourself fully, love yourself unconditionally, and recognize that you're the captain of your ship. Yes, the outside world is a crazy mess. However, your inner world is as steady as it can be. And that's what makes all the difference. So I'd like to finish today on a quote. Nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anyone can start today and make a new ending. So look into your self-worth, guys. Work on it where needed. And remember to take patience with it, okay? And be consistent. And the best thing about this is it's a video. And again, lots of things were discussed, so you can go back, listen to all those questions again, write them down, have some private time, just your time, and work through those questions and see where you're at and see how you feel about yourself, okay? So I want to thank you for joining me again today. We'll be live again tomorrow on the 5th of May, where we'll be taking a look at self-control. If today's live video has impacted you in any way and you would like to reach out, then please get in touch and we can either support you or we can pass your name and contact details onto other organisations. We will be live at 3:30. Don't forget, if you would like to know more about our company, then please visit us at www.resiliencevoyage.co.uk, and it's there where you can get in touch. If you are interested in our online awareness workshop on the 13th of May and you're 19 plus and live in Somerset, remember, then please get in touch with us and we can let you know more information on that. Also, don't forget, we have that new Facebook group all about resilience, gaining advice, inspiring quotes, useful methods, music, pictures, thought-provoking theories, and much, much more. Just type Resilience Voyage into the search bar on the groups and we should pop up. Because there's a slight time delay, I am going to leave the live feed running just for a few seconds and pop over, check a couple of my comments, and then I will shut it down. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and thank you very much for listening.